I'm Doug Jones, and you have discovered Beyond Trek Podcast.
Okay, we're here. Technical issues abound. I tell you, you can test these things multiple times, and it will still kind of be jacked up, if you know what I mean.
It's okay. It's like the first season of the original series and the first season of The Next Generation, where, you know, this is only episode 2. We haven't really found our niche yet, so.
Well,
When do we have our Mark of Honor episode? Because I want to be excused from that one. I don't want to be a part.
Which one is that?
The particularly racist one in TNG.
You mean Code
season
of
one.
Honor?
Code of Honor.
That's what it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, Code
we
of
have
Honor.
to remember that one strictly to avoid that one. I don't even... Did we do a riff treks of that? Oh
We
my
did do a
gosh.
riff track of Code of Honor because you remember Murph?
Yeah.
We
Do I remember Murph? Like,
really
he's not still a
talked.
part
Well,
of
of
the
course. Yeah, he's part of our podcast.
Shout out
So
to Murph.
we talked him into doing watching Irish episode, something Up the Long Ladder, was it?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah. And
Also
so
fun.
the deal was, if he watched that with us, then I would have to watch Code of Honor, which...
And we never have to do it again. Just tell Netflix to skip those episodes and binge watch.
Right. Yeah, no, I'll
infamously
never
bad.
watch it.
But we're not here for TNG. We're here for Discovery Season 3, Episode 12, There is a Tide. You all know my esteemed co-hosts, Big J and Renzo. I'm Dag. This is your spoiler alert. Thanks for being here today. By being here today, you consent to be spoiled to all things Star Trek, whether they have anything to do with this episode or not. So
Here's our
buckle
spoiler
up
alert.
And away.
Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert.
Okay, there it was. Nacho, quiet in that
Last
chair. Okay, so my son Nacho's here, and he's in a creaky kind of gaming chair, and I told him, I said, when we go live, you need to be quiet, quit shifting around. So,
Just give the poor man some WD-40 and he'll be good.
oh, WD-40.
Hey, do you think self-stealing stem boats get rid of chair creak in the future?
Are they self-lubricating as well, though? Because that's the real thing.
Let's ask the audience. Hey, you guys, are self-sealing stem bolts self-lubricating and get rid of chair creak in the future? Talk about that while we go over this episode, because we know it was so exciting. Actually, it was. Scene 1 of this episode is like Revenge of the Sith without all the debris. A gripping, if, sort of convoluted space battle between Osiris' ship, the Viridian, and the commandeered Discovery kicked this episode off. Osiris like, hey, let's make sure the charade is working, so tell the Viridian to not fire so hard because we don't want to die before we get to HQ. Willa and Vance are having a status discussion. Vance suspects that Disco's been compromised and orders hesitation in letting Discovery enter their little super awesome warp shield stuff. I love that space station. It's beautiful.
It is good. It's a nice space station, and I'm glad that he's at least kind of being cautious, because maybe the issue, the Genesis incident, and the Reliant sneaking up on the Enterprise way back in 2285, it's probably required reading. Just because a friendly
don't
ship is
know.
approaching does not mean it's friendly.
900-year-old
900
tactics.
years later,
Hey, I'm just saying, you learn from the past, right?
Anybody out there practicing tactics from the 1100s, let us know.
I mean, we can talk about Hastings, right? 1066, the Norman archers being rode down by cavalry from Harold Hardra. I mean, we don't really worry about cavalry anymore, but I
Or
guess it's kinda
archers, for that
relevant.
matter.
Well, Hitler made the same mistake Napoleon did, so got to read up on it.
Yeah, but that's
On the
only
Brit-
200 years apart.
Oh, okay, all right, I will concede that.
Stay tuned for Beyond Trek Productions presents Mistakes in Historical Battles on the next episode. Anyway, on the Bridge of Discovery, what's that regulator's name? Kanata?
Oh,
Kanak, I think?
I don't remember.
I don't know what alien she is, but it's intriguing to me because she looks super familiar.
I totally thought that she was Barzan, but then I went and I looked at the Barzans and I was like, oh, maybe not entirely. But it has been 900 years, so maybe there's a lot of intergalactic breeding and we're getting some cool hybrid appearances. Anyway, this regulator's having a conversation with Osira about the ship's data banks, and there's apparently a movie playing. It's an old Earth recreational video.
Here's my
And I can't.
question. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dag.
Oh, I was just like, I'm pretty interested in why they're worried about this one thing that's playing because it can't possibly make up any
They
valid
deleted everything else.
percentage
It's
of.
not the resource usage or the space. They deleted everything else and overwrote DOSs with their own stuff, but they couldn't delete this one. So that alone is a little on the weird side.
I suppose.
It's like they're trying to install Mac OS over a PC or a Windows computer or something. So this, I wondered even back when the movie night was first done in the cargo bay, why couldn't they have done Three Stooges? Wouldn't that have been kind of a more recognizable black and white show if they're going to show something?
Licensing?
Well,
Licensing. That show is so old. It can't be.
it's been 900 years. It's got to be in public domain by now, unless Disney's still around and has extended copyright.
Ooh.
Whew. Anyway, actually, I kind of like the idea of having the Three Stooges because that would align with our three dots showing up at the end of this. But we'll talk about those ellipses later.
Okay.
All right. So Osiris like, yeah, whatever. Don't worry about this movie. We got bigger fish to fry. We flash over to the mess hall, and Zara is taunting Tilly about who's in charge, and maybe the Federation has begged us to take you with us because of your incompetence.
Before we move on to that, though, what I want to still talk about on the bridge scene where they were talking about the computers and taking over the ship, though, right?
Yeah, dude.
So we know that the crew of Discovery had spent a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of different methodologies trying to delete the sphere data on their own, right? Like they were talking about like throwing the ship into a star at points to get rid of it, right? Here, however, it looks like the tech from the 900 years in the future was able to do far more progress on wiping clean or at least minimizing the occupation of the sphere data than Discovery's own crew was. So that's kind of an interesting twist. Because remember, they were talking about everything to get rid of that stuff.
Yeah. Also, we're getting schooled in chat. We still study Roman, Greek, English, and Persian attacks, and The Art of War is still an amazing novel.
Yes, keep this chat lively for us,
strategy.
please. Oh, and later, I'm going to go ahead and mention this just real quick while I've derailed our review. Later on in our review, once we are done talking about the final scene, we're going to be opening up the Beyond Trek hotline, which is a Google Voice number you can call and you can chat with us about this episode of Discovery or the season up to this point. So last week we had a couple people in the chat trying to get up the courage to do that. Didn't happen. So hopefully you have that courage now. So just want to let you know that's happening later.
Called in.
You called him. That doesn't count.
One is not necessarily the loneliest number when you're secure with yourself.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So in that mess hall, those regulators are told to keep the hostages alive, which is always, as we know from the way plots are written, the worst bad guy move to make. But we find out that it's kind of subverted with the reason why Osira commandeered Discovery in the first place, and we'll get to that when we get forward a few minutes. We flash to Book and Burnham in a transwarp conduit, and this was one of the most fascinating moments for me because I think it answered a question that I hadn't really thought of this particular answer. But everyone's saying we don't go into transwarp conduits because it's crazy to risk that. But we find out that the reason the transwarp conduits are difficult to navigate is because there's so much ship debris in there. Why is there ship debris in there? Because there were ships in transwarp conduits that had active warp cores during the burn, and now all of this debris is strewn through these conduits. And in the last 100 years or so, there have been bigger things to do than go fishing for debris in transwarp conduits.
It's definitely a flying hazard, for sure. But the way that Book was able to morph the ship around that stuff is that's amazing. I need something like that when I'm driving through traffic around this town because it's just stupid sometimes.
Yeah, it was definitely really cool seeing them fly through. Makes sense to what Book was saying last episode about like not even couriers are stupid enough or crazy enough to use the courier network. So
True.
I just think it's one of the better moments of show don't tell continuity in this series, where we do have some criticisms about the way the characters are acting or whether it's writing or characters and stuff like that. But this is one of the moments where I was like, wow, that's a great answer. I love it.
Yeah, Jutao makes a really good point though, right? Like if a lot of that debris, say it's from the hundreds of years of people using it, or thousands of years of people using it, or from things like the blowing up of the Borg transwarp
network.
nexus, right? Like there's going to be debris in there, and that's just going to persist there for a while. But maybe you can just turn it off and turn it back on again, dump out whatever's inside, and clear them out by starting fresh.
Do you know what that kind of reminds me of? What's that big garbage island out in the Pacific Ocean?
Oh, the Great Pacific Gyre.
Yeah, it's just basically like there's this, transwarp network that's basically an ocean stream that's full of debris, and no one's ever bothered to clean it up.
Yeah.
We should have. You know what we should do? We should get those replicating mines that just go through and detect whether there's a power signature whenever they hit some kind of debris, and then just blow it up, and voila, way more debris than there was.
And then it's all clean.
That was a bad idea.
So my guess for that Vandal Cat is actually that it's probably that debris there is only what's built up since the burn, since the collapse of like major starfaring civilizations. So no big entities had like the manpower, effort, need to go cleaning that shit up. So it's just like built up over the last 150 years. It's probably not that much like scale.
I mean, he specifically calls out a particular class of vessel.
Yeah.
That they need to try and get around, which they do. Their shields are taking a beating, and they emerge from the conduit, but they don't have comms. They can't call HQ and tell them what's happening, of course. Book explains that Osiris Play.
It wouldn't be an emergency if they couldn't communicate. Sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
Osiris Play might be something she's tried before, where she infiltrated a diplomatic meeting, then blew it up, killing the elected leadership in that meeting. Burnham then fires up the afterburners on Book's ship and crash lands in Discovery Shuttle Bay right as it enters the station.
That was awesome.
I loved seeing the Nautilus like pack itself up and making it smaller and more compact before ramming in. Loved that. Probably the only time I was happy to see that the shuttle bay doors were open.
I know. I've been talking about that since Discovery started. I've had an issue with them just leaving those the cargo bay doors open all the time, pretty much all the time. And now finally it made sense that it was open, but I didn't really roll my eyes at that, but it was like, that figures. The one time it becomes useful after I've been complaining about it since Discovery started. But, kind of reminds me of just pulling into the garage door when you're sliding on ice in the driveway.
That's a terrifying sensation.
There was something neat that they showed during that scene, though, too, because we saw some shots of the hull of Discovery, and it looked like it was pockmarked with, not pockmarked, there were little devices or something attached to the hull of the saucer all around. Not really sure what those are. My thought process, it's probably something left from the tentacles or the graspers that were there last episode. Maybe that's how they managed to circumvent the computer, but they're not showing us this. They're not telling us this, so we're just left to assume, which is shoddy writing, in my opinion.
Right, the old show don't tell.
Either one would be good. They haven't done either.
Okay.
Would have been interesting to see the sensor readings when both Discovery and the Viridian popped onto their radar through a spore jump. That would have been real interesting.
It would have.
So we get the credits, and after that, the Viridian, which is Osiris' ship, it's standing vigilant outside Starfleet HQ. On Discovery, Osira tells Zara to keep Viridian at bay. She's very mad about this shuttle that landed in the shuttle bay, and they don't know who's on it. Zara says his regulators will handle it. Osira goes to engineering and joins Aurelio. And they talk about how amazing the spore drive is. He can't believe it's 22nd century tech. Stamets is still under the mind control, but Aurelio needs to do a bioanalysis to find out more about Stamets' interface with the drive. Osira is worried because she's in hostile territory, trying to make the gamble of her life, which has something to do with freeing the galaxy of the yoke of dilithium. I thought that was a really poetic term. Aurelio seems to be quite the artist and romantic.
Now, something fun for everybody who watched this scene, though he may not look super familiar, the actor who plays Aurelio is somebody that we've seen in Trek quite a bit. The actor's name is Kenneth Mitchell, and he's gone through quite a tragic affair of late. He's developed ALS. But before that was known, he had played Cole Shaw, Tenevik, and he'd played several voices inside of Lower Decks as well. So he's really dived into Trek to the point where when he found out that he had ALS, he had to talk to Mary Cheffo, the actress who plays Laurel, for advice on how to tell the rest of the cast that he wasn't going to be around anymore because of it. That he was afraid he wouldn't be able to help with other episodes or whatever. So, yeah,
Hearts in chat for Kenneth Mitchell.
What's that?
Definitely put some love into the show. And it was good that they brought him back.
I'm super stoked that they were able to bring him back in that amazing Professor Xavier chair, because I need him in front of the camera as much as possible. I love Kenneth Mitchell. Kenneth, if you're listening, we want to interview you, hang out with you, maybe play some D&D. So yeah, Osira turns on some Andorian opera and Aurelio gets to work. Book and Burnham are in the now on fire shuttle bay. They split up. She's going to find Stamets because she needs to get him off the ship before they figure out how the spore drive works. Book is going to draw the regulators away. She tells him she loves him for what she thinks is the first time, but Book casually lets her know that she talks in her sleep.
That's awkward.
It's hilarious.
Zara shows up in the shuttle bay to apprehend whoever's still there. Not sure who it is. Vance and Willa deduce that Osira is actually on Discovery and orders all of the ships in the station to target Discovery. Regulators.
Because Vance is no fool.
Right.
Well,
he's
been sitting on being cautious for so long.
Love seeing the hearts in chat, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for those.
Speaking of hearts in chat, there's also a proposition for you, Big J. I think somebody wants to go on a date with you or something.
I was going to save that till last, Redzo, with secrets out.
Once a podcast gets groupies, I think that we have then turned the corner and made it. That is awesome. Thank you for that. I'm probably blushing right now, possibly, maybe. But yeah, I like that.
We head on over to the mess hall where the regulators welcome Zara and Book. Zara tells the guards they've got permission to hurt Book if he gets out of line, but don't kill him. Just make him wish he was dead. In a hallway, a regulator is busy trying to peel off a badge from their wall of remembrance, which instantly got me elevated. I was so mad.
But why? Why was he doing that?
His badges are made out of gold.
I mean, not even the gold. Maybe it's a collectible.
Oh, okay.
22nd century badge. Osira has been hunting these. I must take this.
Not even Osira. Think of it maybe as there's this collector on Hylian 4. I know he pays top dollar for these, and there are 30 on this wall. Fuck it, I'm rich.
Okay. I can see that. Or it was just to set up getting knocked out by Michael.
Hey, that was great fight choreo though, right? And she definitely had him in a leg lock on his neck real fast before the knife went in. So
that was some Black Widow level sniping right there.
Look at War Dog time. Regulators are taking loot. Like they're on a quest. Loot bags.
Oh man, just imagine playing a D&D game where you're the regulators that have to take over Discovery, and one of the missions is to peel off all the loot from the Remembrance Wall without getting jumped by Michael Burnham. Where's our social media guy from Star Trek Online? Make that a quest.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah.
In any case, she does knock him out, but she takes a nasty thigh wound, a stab. And I thought it was really interesting that she pulled out the knife, because I've always been told if you get stabbed, leave the knife in. But I'm guessing if you're going to play Die Hard on the Discovery, you need your mobility more than your blood.
It was Die Hard on Discovery.
Yeah, it's hard to say, right? You're right. Definitely, most EMTs don't pull it out unless you've got everything ready to actually seal the wound. But she does end up sealing it not that long after. I don't know. Yeah, it's still tough to say. She phasers it.
She phasers her own wound. That's
which is
pretty hardcore.
It's a Predator, right? With Arnold Schwarzenegger and the gunpowder.
From Predator?
Isn't it Predator who does it?
No, that's Rambo.
Chat, let us know.
I know the scene you're talking about. That was Rambo. One of the
It might be Stallone. You're right.
Yeah.
she grabs his communicator and determines what some of their plans are. Now, this upcoming scene here is very interesting. I've got it in my background, but the Starfleet vessels are taking position around Discovery, and we get this ship here that pops up. And my first immediate thought was, yay, we're going to see the USS Nog again, because it looks like the Eisenberg-class USS Nog.
Yes.
But if you zoom in on this name here, and this screenshot isn't the clearest, but the ones that we have in our private docs show that this is the USS Song, not the USS Nog. Very disappointing. I needed some of my Aaron Eisenberg. Everybody in chat knows and loves Aaron. But I really could have used seeing like Nog, because that's exactly what he would have done. Nog would have been like, someone's in my base doing the bad stuff, and he'd grab a phaser rifle and he'd go, marching out there. That's exactly what I think Nog would have done.
Why would they not have used the USS Nog in this? Why the
I'm
song?
not a writer. I don't know.
So it could be named after anything, right? Like, I'm guessing maybe it's an homage to Doctor Who. It could be named after River Song, right? Like, who knows? It could be anything. But it's probably not the USS Nog, because the Nog is out on that mission to Kaminar, right? Like, it's deployed. So this is just one of the less capable ships that got left behind.
Why do you know that stuff about Doctor Who?
I like Doctor Who.
Oh, okay. No moonlighting with other sci-fi franchises. You gotta stick with Star Trek. Farscape, come on.
Maybe there's some significance to the that registry number. I can't see all the numbers, but it ends in 084, which makes me think it might be a year for someone.
So it is the second highest registry that we've ever seen in Star Trek. I do know that much. The only ship we've seen with a high registry was their USS Relativity.
Right. Yep.
Speaking of really high numbers, there's another milestone for Star Trek in here as well once we get there.
All right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So Osira hails the headquarters, introduces herself as Minister Osira, and reassures Vance that her intentions are peaceful despite her deceptive pretenses. Vance and Osira debate the fate of the crew, but Osira says she needs leverage. She hopes that things will go well and everyone can have a happy ending. Non-essential crew is shuttling to the station as a good faith gesture, and Vance orders Willa to prepare the ready room for visitors.
Guess who's coming to dinner?
I'm curious about who they assigned as non-essential versus like command crew, because for example, Jet Reno's not there, which is strange. Dr. Pollard isn't there, also strange.
Probably non-essential crew on that shuttle.
I mean, I don't know, man. Right? Like, Jet Reno's been called the chief engineer a couple times, or she's been called like one of the head engineers at the very least.
She has to be chief engineer.
She has to be. She's the only actual engineer, because Stamets is not. Stamets is a scientist.
Right.
So.
One of our someone in chat is pointing out that if they've got programmable matter, how come they couldn't have programmable med packs in their uniforms for that wound?
Okay.
Well, the way that the phasers from the Emerald Chain worked, assuming they were phasers, we don't actually know. Whatever their hand weapon was, the way it becomes like a bracelet on your arm is really cool. Like, really big fan of that. It reminds me a lot of the Elite Forces games, which I talked about last episode.
Yes.
You can just like keep a whole armory of shit like in a pack on your on your waist, essentially, and just pull out the gun you want and then put it back, and it like goes into a transporter buffer. Really cool stuff like that.
Like Hermione's purse?
Yeah, sort of similar. It's larger on the inside than the out, like the TARDIS in Doctor Who.
Like the TARDIS. So we're back to Doctor Who again.
And the plot holes. Wait, what?
Oh, so many plot holes.
Galen DeBee, I aim to misbehave. I wish we had a Firefly reference in this episode. That would have been great.
Yes, it would have.
Galen also says, Jet is communing with the spores again. Okay. We didn't actually go into the spore room. There might be a whole bunch of people in there being like, well...
No, we were in the spore room quite a bit.
How do you turn this thing on?
In this episode?
Yeah, Stamets was in there.
He was in the... Yes, he was for a little bit before
No.
he got handcuffed to the...
Cube. He wasn't in the mushroom.
Oh, not the forest. Yeah, okay. He's not in the forest. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the big room where they were growing weed?
Which we saw like once.
Right. Yeah.
It's shrooms, dude.
Get shrooms. Yeah.
References and your innuendos right.
Sorry, I'm not a drug user.
I'm a Star Trek user, and Star Trek is my anti-drug. In a Jeffries tube, Burnham cauterizes her wound with her med pack, phaser, then calls her mom. That's exactly what I would have done if I was in that situation. Mom, somebody broke into my house and stabbed me. Help!
Because mom's going to kick some serious ass. You know that.
every Vulcan's just gonna beam aboard and nerve pinch everybody, and the episode will be over.
You get a nerve pinch. You get a nerve pinch. Everyone gets a nerve pinch.
She gets a little, I guess, pre-nostalgic here. I'm not sure. She says that if things don't go well, she won't see mom again until another distant future. And I was wondering, is this a euphemism for the afterlife, or is there a reference I missed?
I wouldn't think it's.
I think it's just a reference to the afterlife.
Okay.
But why the afterlife? I mean, if the distant future, that's the part that doesn't make sense to say that and to mean the afterlife.
Well, if the undiscovered country is also the future.
Okay, good.
Either way,
good reference
I think
there. Yeah,
calling in the mom's not the worst idea, because we know that she's part of the the co-op Milat, and she can come in with like a fleet of Vulcan nurse or nun ships and like fix things.
Yeah, that's what I'm actually kind of hoping for, is that in the next episode, a Vulcan fleet will assemble around HQ because of the Su'Kal thing, and we will see the groundwork being laid for this new Federation to rebuild.
You know it's
That would be
coming.
really, really awesome. Let's see. Osira and her entourage beam aboard HQ. Vance says that he's got authority to negotiate on behalf of the Federation president. He also says his officers are not to initiate hostilities, but can respond with force. He and Osira head for the ready room, and their security people stand outside. In Discovery's mess hall, the officers are engaging in some Morse code communication. A regulator steps on Rice's fingers, but Tilly warns him they weren't to be harmed. The officers suddenly get into an argument about their talking, but it's just a ruse to distract the regulators. After a short fight, Book asks what they were saying, and Rice just says, "I just told them to keep tapping." I thought that was a really awesome subversion of the usual secret communication hostage plot.
Yes.
So we weren't actually saying anything. Just keep tapping, and this has
And
got to be. This is a 900-year-old strategy tactic. That's what this is. They should have studied that. The regulators just missed that history lesson.
And they sure can fight. That was a good tussle in there. Two things though. One, I find it just a little bit unrealistic that they know Morse code. It's one. Second, who was that other person, totally random person in that room with them, and why wasn't it Nelson or oh god, the Saurian that's been
Linus.
yeah,
Linus.
right. Why wasn't it someone that we've already seen before? Why was it just some rando? I mean, it's not a big deal, but I just thought,
Yeah, I didn't recognize her either. Not quite sure.
Okay. So, am I wrong on that? Is Morse code something that they would have learned in the 23rd
I don't even know if they
century?
teach it in the Naval Academy now. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah. Chat, tell us what you think. Is it unreasonable for the crew of the Discovery to execute Morse code effectively in their time?
Yeah.
Not the 32nd century, but even just the 23rd century.
So the U.S. military stopped training it in 2012 for the Army, for example, right? The Air Force stopped doing it in 2009. So it's kind of already fallen by the wayside.
Right. That was the part that I wasn't quite.
Maybe because of World War III, Morse code needed to be more important. Nuclear fallout and EMPs would disable electronic forms of communication. If you need to communicate with your forces, you have to be able to do it somehow. And Morse code saved the world in 1996 when those aliens showed up in those saucer discs, and President Bill Pullman had to save the day.
We've seen an ass ton of Star Trek Morse code, right? Like we saw it in Star Trek V. We've seen Uhura get it a few times. We've seen it in Enterprise. I think we saw it in a couple of TNG episodes at one point too, right? Like it's been out there. It's not that crazy. It's just kind of weird.
It's
Right.
just, I think it's cheap. I think that's a cheap way to get out of a situation, is to suddenly say that these people in the future know Morse code. Now, I will give it to you that after World War III, that it probably came back around again, but that was World War III ended in 2054 because first contact they went to 2064 and data said it was 10 years after the Third World War. Okay, so you're telling me that even if Morse code had been important after World War III, that it would still be in use for officers in the 23rd century. Like I get maybe by Archer's time, because we had a user in our chat ask about Archer knowing Morse code, and apparently Uhura understood it. I don't know.
And
I
Scotty
just,
too,
right.
and Spock as well. Like in Star Trek
Scotty
5, like
used
they
it
had
to blow up a brig.
Yeah. Let me just
Unless
let
we
me
don't
just
talk about the final
pass.
frontier here.
No, we will not talk about the final frontier. All right. Well, I'll just get off this whole Morse code thing and just accept that when the plot calls for it, it's going to be there, whether we like it or not.
I mean, I knew Morse code as a kid because I had a walkie-talkie that I would like mess with my cousin with, and we would send messages with that back and forth, right? So
why the hell did you know Morse code as a kid?
I
That's
just
crazy.
said it because I had a walkie-talkie that if you pushed a button, it would make a tone, and if you held it, you could do Morse code with it. And so I would talk with my cousin like 3 houses down, and like that's how we would. I don't know. It was fun as a kid. What can I tell you?
You learned it?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd be screwed if I had to use Morse code for anything because I don't know a single thing in Morse code.
I mean, unless you want them to pull out like Air Force flags and stand there in the middle of a hostage situation. What are you doing? I'm preparing for my guard show.
Yeah. You're right, Gailinda B, if I pronounce that right. Suspend disbelief. I'm trying. I'm trying.
All right.
All right.
So they talk about how they're going to retake the ship fast enough to rescue Saru, Adira, and Culber. Back in the ready room on the station, Osira asks about Eli. Now, I have a really cool thing here. Like, Eli is the name of the hologram that can detect if you're telling the truth or not. He's like the electronic lie detector, the E-lie system. Anybody? Anybody with me there?
Oh, nice.
Or it's just another way to use the same 3 letters of Eli and lie. It's just an anagram.
You guys are so smart.
Yeah.
That's just where I'm thinking. Also, I want to shout out to Wardogheim. That's the Navy, not the Air Force. I'm really sorry about that. I'm bad with my military branches.
That's okay. We'll forgive you this time.
Nah.
But only once.
That's like time 803, though. Anyway.
Well, who's counting?
So the reason I wore this shirt, and it's not because I just wanted to rep Farscape today for some reason, it's because the outfit that Osira was wearing in this scene and the rest of the scenes that she had this episode and the like strategy that she took on this episode reminded me a lot of a character, a villain from Farscape called Scorpius.
Yes.
It's very much I want to make a deal with you and we're both going to come out the winners on this, but at the end, only one of us is going to be alive, right? Like that was what it was every time he tried to talk to somebody into something. It was like the character's like falling for it like a fucking moron, but the viewers are like, don't trust Scorpius. What are you doing? And here she is doing the exact same thing, wearing a leather tight outfit, just like Scorpius would. And yeah, I felt really strongly that it's like, cool. I love it.
So I think you need to show the viewers your shirt now because I can only see the top of it.
Yeah, I did a binge
There
of
we go.
Farscape. It's
There we
good.
go.
I
Maybe
liked
I missed it.
Scorpius and Crichton and their interaction, so that was good. But it's not beyond Farscape, whatever podcast. It's
yeah. But you know, sci-fi
I like that
references
shirt.
sci-fi
It's a
pretty
good shirt.
regularly. Though,
We're just
so.
going to do it all over the place. That's what's going to happen. Vance points out it's hard to start this conversation with an active hostage situation. Eli assures Vance that Osira's truth about the health of the crew is on spot. Osira asks if he sent Saru to Kaminar. She seems very inquisitive about Saru, which is interesting to me, but maybe she just wanted to face off with the captain and not, the people that she's actually facing off with. Vance brings the subject back to the center. What does Osira want? And she says something that kind of stunned me, but maybe it's just a ploy. She says she wants the Emerald Chain to unite with the Federation. She makes a compelling plea that the Federation is falling apart without dilithium, but the chain has the scientists to copy the spore drive. She wants a united banner under the Federation because, despite its failings since the burn, it is still a symbol of hope.
Isn't there a saying about getting into bed with the devil or something like that? I might be. Help me out in the chat. I'm not. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it. But it may be.
So the line that she said, which I meant to go back and like type it down verbatim, was really, really good. It was about how the Federation is just a chain of freedom-loving worlds working together for a common goal, and that the Emerald Chain is a mercantile federation working together for economic prosperity, right? That was like really, really smartly phrased to get under somebody like Vance's nerves, right? Because he's like, well, damn, that's a good point. They are a lot like us in some ways. It's just, you know, that whole capitalism thing that just, or unconstrained, unfettered capitalism thing that differentiates the Federation from the chain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that they would, I don't know if complement each other is the right word, but they would fill each other's gaps that the one has. So it's kind of like a, I don't know, an alliance of convenience or something like that.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We flash over back to Discovery. The downed regulator that Michael killed or knocked out or whatever is discovered, and they're able to tell that he's lost his comm badge, and Zara orders a team to flush her out in the Jeffries tube as they hone in on that comm badge's signal. In engineering, Aurelio is removing the neural locks from Stamets to talk to him one-on-one. Stamets is tied up, but he's able to engage Aurelio as a fellow human being. They talk about Andorians singing with multiple layers of overtones, and as they both love opera, they kind of connect on that. Stamets deduces Aurelio has kids from the piercings behind his neck. He connects again by saying he also has a kid, referring to Adira, as well as his husband, Hugh Culber, and how they're in danger, and stop what you're doing so we can go rescue my family.
Well,
Now, Aurelio realized what was going on here. It was this very much attempt to like personalize yourself to your captor. You know, hostage negotiations 101, make yourself a person. Let them think of you as a number. Cool.
Yes.
Stamets is doing it right. But Aurelio figures it out too. And he's just like, fuck this. No, I'm just going to keep going.
Well, it starts to whittle him down just a little bit because they've got that that family
3
connection.
markers. How'd you know I had kids thing was really good.
Right. Which I'm surprised that Stamets was able to see behind his ear like that when he never quite presented that angle. But again, the plot says so.
I think Stamets' perceptions were active. He just wasn't able to act on them until that neural blocker was removed. Because once it's removed, he's very much like, yep, here I am, instead of, what did you do to me? He seemed to have maintained a level of awareness.
Seemed aware, conscious at least.
Yeah.
Okay.
He probably just, picked it up, but couldn't do anything about it because his alpha waves were in vegetative state.
Yep. Okay.
There's your technobabble for this moment. Aurelio, as Hawkshark said, tries to bring the conversation back to the spore drive while Stamets continues talking about Culber's presence in the nebula and the threat that poses. Aurelio brings up the tardigrade DNA connection, and Stamets says they're going to have to kill him to get that secret. Aurelio counters and says they can just extract the tardigrade DNA and grow what they need without killing Stamets. Apparently, the 32nd century is beyond death threats when it comes to science.
Well, look at all the other stuff they can do. And that's not too far-fetched. They can just extract that stuff from the body.
Well, I mean, let's look at it, right? Science has always been separated from politics and from war. The two have never commingled in all of history, right? So the fact that they're separate and that scientists can just think that their stuff is separate from politics in the 31st or 32nd century makes perfect sense, right, guys?
Yeah. No.
Some of y'all were like, wait, what? And we're just letting you know that we know that's the whoosh. One thing that I really liked about the scenes like this is that they're showing humans. We've got Zara, we've got Aurelio. Humans are part of the Emerald Chain, and that is unsettling if you're used to humans being super pro-Federation. And the last time that we really did see humans being a part of an organization that was antagonistic towards the Federation was the Maquis. They didn't really like it that much, and they were actively fighting against a lot of the Federation powers that were pushing them out of their homes in the DMZ along the Cardassian border.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, much like the Maquis, right? Like, the Maquis had some good points. The Maquis were right about a few things. The Federation had abandoned them or forced them to leave their home. So, in some essences, the Maquis were right. Cool. The Emerald Chain is also, in some essences, right. There should be some kind of, like, trade or help for that starbase. I think it was like 259 or something that's so far away that the actual Federation hasn't had contact with it in decades, 80 years or something, right? Cool. It makes sense, right? There's going to need to be some levels of that too, right? But let's not forget, the Maquis also used biogenic weapons or used weapons of mass destruction. And then the Emerald Chain most certainly is responsible for gross abuses of power and murder and slave trade and so forth and so on, right?
Right.
So they may have some points, and they may want the viewers to like give them some benefit of the doubt, but don't be fooled. These aren't good people either.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and we're definitely going to learn some of the things that have been committed by the Emerald Chain under Osiris' leadership.
A lot of bad stuff, basically.
In the Jeffries tube, Burnham is fleeing from regulators, while Tilly and Rin are coming up with a plan to confuse the sensors. They're basically going to access sensor data from Discovery and make all of those life sign patterns appear simultaneously over the last few months to show thousands of different life signs on board Discovery at that time. Burnham uses her phaser to destroy a fire sensor that makes the ship think there's a fire there, so it flushes out the airlocks. One of the regulators struggles to hold on to Burnham, but ultimately ends up an icicle.
And pulled off her boots.
Yeah, pulled off Michael's boots. Now in the Reddit world, that means if you don't have shoes, you're dead. But this isn't Reddit.
Why wasn't she wearing socks? I mean,
maybe socks are
they didn't
like
have the right ones.
Maybe socks are obsolete. Your shoes just have a lining on the inside that just does everything a sock would otherwise do.
Matter. Just
programmable socks. Okay.
Now, you could have any design of socks you want. If today you want original series deltas and tomorrow you want TOS deltas, your programmable matter socks can do that.
I liked the way they used Rin for this in this scene, where we got Rin being like this coward who refuses to take part in anything, and then he's like developing his appreciation for the Federation. Now he's willing to like help them and sacrifice and stuff for them. Great character growth arc. I think that's a lot more character growth than we've seen from most of the major characters in the show.
And what happens when you get a character focus on growth on Discovery? Answers in chat, and we'll get to you in a second.
But yeah, that was good. I like that. I also think it's interesting that he was able to hack the Emerald Chain's computer system to like do that ghosting thing. That was pretty cool, pretty sweet. I really want to know more about how many drivers the Emerald Chain's OS comes with it, because it's able to apparently just be dropped on any system. That's really neat to me. I'd love a copy of that.
It runs off some form of Linux.
They just grabbed the data matrix from Coppelius Station and used that to program all of their stuff.
And this is another gripe that I have, is the instant ability to be able to work technology that you're not familiar with, to just jump into different code or consoles and to do this flawlessly. It's one of the things in Star Trek that really kind of gets me, because if I were to sit in a car that had stick shift, I'm screwed. It takes long enough to find the windshield wipers and how that works and everything else, but you put it in another language or an alien language, forget about it. I don't get it. You sit me in front of a Mac and I can't even figure out how to get it to print. But these people can apparently just do whatever the hell they want with this stuff within moments.
They're also trained to do it, right? Like, the only person who we saw this episode working a system that she wasn't familiar with was Michael Burnham, because she was using the stuff from the chain that she like stole off of them, right? Besides that, like, they literally just overwrote Discovery's OS with their own, so they're now familiar with it. So that's something like the system was pre-planned or pre-made or fucking adaptable enough to somehow work with Discovery software or hardware. I don't know how many drivers they bring with them. That's the part that's weird ass to me, right? But then after that, all the regulators are using their own stuff, so they're familiar with it. But yeah, Michael is a xenoanthropologist, so maybe she just figured it out. Then again, it's the Emerald Chain is based primarily off Andorian and Orion, right? And she's super familiar with Andorians and Orions, so I guess that's not that crazy.
I mean, also remember that we're coming up on it, but Osiris says that one of the Starfleet stations has been trading with the Emerald Chain ever since they got cut off after the burn. And what that could mean is, technology trading. The Emerald Chain may have a solid understanding of early 32nd century Federation base code and be able to write stuff that can mess with it. Very possible.
Well,
it's just crazy, though.
We've got some of the IT and tech folks speaking up on that. I think that we are probably a little bit in alignment on just the sheer audacity of being able to just work that stuff, I mean,
Now,
Yeah.
we've seen some crazy things that got more explanation in the past. Like, there were times where a tricorder would scan a computer system and be like, oh, that's what all this does. And then they can drive it off of that, right? Because it, like, scans it down to the circuitry, figures it all out, and presents it to you in information on the tricorder. Cool. That's great. That's awesome. So maybe somehow the OS that they dropped onto this ship that's 900 years old is they would be like, oh, so these pathways go to this, it must do this, and then just writes its own code, like it's self-adapting code to make drivers for things. It's nuts. I mean, you can totally like headcanon it away, but there's definitely some mental hurdles and some obstacles to it that are just crazy.
Right?
Galinda said, it's mental acrobatics.
Yes.
I love how we're diving deep into this. Like, how does this technology interface
So
with
niche.
each other? How did they
So
do this?
niche.
And I'm over here like, why didn't the regulator tap her badge to teleport back to Discovery before she got sucked out the airlock?
Maybe it doesn't work outside of the ship.
Well, she had enough time falling.
If it doesn't work outside of the ship, then nobody could ever beam back up.
Right.
Oh, that's when you use the ship's transporters, not your personal one.
Maybe
I have
maybe
a
it had
headache.
something to do with the fact that the Orion systems didn't integrate as effectively into Discovery systems as we thought.
Or maybe there's a jamming field once you're inside of the shield bubble of the starbase to prevent unauthorized transports.
You know,
And
I'm.
that's why Michael had to send Stamets out through a Galaxy Quest squibble.
I love that though.
And we'll get there too.
Yeah.
The vents
All
on
right.
Discovery close, but the crew in the mess hall doesn't know if Burnham is okay up until she replies to an inquiry to the regulator that Zara's going to need more regulators. The crew celebrates, and Rin asks who's ready to get the hell out of there. In what's probably the best admission of how replicators work in this century, on Starfleet HQ, Vance admits to Osira that the food that they're eating is made from their...
I thought he was just.
Are we allowed to use adult words in this podcast? I don't know.
Yes.
I mean, I
It's
have been.
weird.
I mean, he said he.
It's made from fecal matter.
No. Please tell me no. He said it tasted like shit. He didn't say
No,
it
No,
was.
said
no.
this is-
He said it
he
was
said-
made from.
This
No.
is made from our shit, and we just deconstituted at the atomic level. And sorry, that's the Bakersfield coming out of my voice. My bad.
I'm perfectly fine with that, right? Like a proton is a proton is a proton is a proton. I don't care if it came from shit or if it came from a rock. If you can reconstitute it into proper matter, I don't really care.
There have been enough biological cycles on this planet that everything at one point was probably poop.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
am not
This is
eating
really
a
going to
sandwich
ruin the diet
if
of
I
people that are
knew.
listening.
Oh my god.
We're really
Yeah.
sorry.
What do you think like fertilizer is that's used on the plants that you're growing, man?
Yeah,
sorry,
but I
I'm
don't have to see it, and I'm
you
eating
don't
the
have to see
plant,
it when you're eating
not
the
the
apple.
fertilizer.
You don't have to see it when you're eating the apple either.
Well, but
tell?
it's different. It's all about the presentation.
The chat is so great. User Jutao says, made from poople, and all I can think of is, 32nd century Soylent Green.
That's really good. I like that one.
Oh, perfect. Osira ignores that, gets to the point.
I don't
Renzo?
think she really did ignore it though. She kind of like reacted. She's like, "That's not
Dropped.
very diplomatic."
Yeah, but she was like, we're gonna move past this. We're moving forward. We're not gonna circle back. This isn't a scrum meeting.
I think Vance did what he wanted to do with that though. He kind of threw her off for a second, right? Like, seeing that she's gonna react to things is part of his testing of her while he's talking to her. I think
Because she was
you know-
eating some of that stuff, and now suddenly he says, "Yeah, this came from our shit."
His admission here really vibes with things I've been saying about the replicator for years. It doesn't make any sense to waste that energy if you can just reconstitute it. A pair of Janeway even says a pocket watch could have been a pair of boots or a phase converter or something in the Year of Hell. So it totally makes sense that they would conserve this energy, especially if we go with the STO canon that energy credits are what make the Federation run, and you're trading units of energy for goods and services.
Yeah.
Anyway, she gets to the point. If this alliance is going to work, Emerald Chain culture must be validated. Read in parentheses, capitalism. That means allowing it, capitalism, within their shared spaces. And they talk about the space station in the middle of nowhere that had to adapt and has been trading with the Emerald Chain for the better part of a century. Vance says that her culture advocates slavery. Osiris says that they've got an amendment drafted to end that practice. She says that if this is going to work, they're going to need to establish an embassy on that space station. Willa comes in as well as one of Osiris' regulators, and they inform their respective leaders that that regulator has been shipped as an icicle, went for a spacewalk without a space suit. And you can see Osiris getting frustrated about this, and she stands up and she's like, we're just going to go to the end game here. Here is my proposal about how we're going to unite our institutions. The cool thing is that this document, the CG document, also features the absolutely longest star date we have ever seen in the history of Star Trek. It's like 9 digits.
Jesus.
The star date, if you missed it, the star date shown on this holographic display is 29141429.1, which is basically just 4 numbers repeating out of sequence. But
it's gibberish.
this is the date system is getting longer now, which we always expected. 23rd century is 4 digits. The 24th century it was 5 digits, and now it's 8.
Well, the way they did the star date for TNG, DS9, and part of Voyager at least made a little bit of sense. You could kind of follow what it meant. You guys know how they did the star dates for that
in TNG?
Yeah.
Yeah, the first digit was the 24th century, so 4. The second digit was the season number, ranking from 1 to 7. The next 3 digits were the numbers 000 through 999, escalating as the season went on, and the number after the decimal is 1/10 of a standard 24-hour period.
Yep. There you go.
So neat things, right? I love it when texts in things are actually relevant. It's not just lorem ipsum dolor, and it's just kind of small and shrunk down because they don't expect you to read it. The galactic armistice between Emerald Chain and the United Federation of Planets has a start date. It has a Federation Standard Language version of it, and it has actual text to it. It has a preamble. It underscores particular points. The thing's there. You can read it. It's awesome. I'm a huge nerd for these things. So...
I liked it. I thought it was a detail. It was an attention to detail kind of thing. It wasn't just a whole bunch of gibberish. It was, we need to have something here on the screen real because we know these Trek fans are going to pause the episode on these points and they're going to zoom in and they're going to read this stuff. And so it needs to at least make some sense.
Well, and that sense kind of went out the door when our 24th century notation rolled over to stardates that began with the number 5 in DS9's 4th season, I think it was.
That's right. What they should have done, technically, is after stardate 49 and then XXX point X, it should have been 410 for the 10th season of what would have been TNG's 10th season. If you follow your numbering system there, but instead they just randomly went to they killed the entire logical reason they had for those star dates and just went with whatever. But
Yep. I love it. I also love that in the mess hall, Tilly and Rin are going forward with this sensor echo plan. Book and Rin are going to stay behind while Tilly and the crew leave the area and get some guns. On Discovery's bridge, Zara starts to be confused as all of these life signs start appearing on the places that he's monitoring en masse, and that duplicity seems to be working. In engineering, as Zara is calling for regulators to investigate this strange thing, Stamets and Aurelio continue to debate what's happening, with Paul trying to convince Aurelio that Osira is cruel despite what Aurelio sees. Aurelio then goes into his backstory, telling Stamets about how when he was 10 and had his birth defect, Osira took a meeting with his parents that she did not need to take to help him with his defect. And that resulted in him being able to have a semblance of health, of a good life, and a family. And Stamets counters with Osiris' cruelties, making extinct an entire species on Quai-Jon just to get a pesticide. She has threatened children. She runs labor camps with slaves. He says he believes Aurelio when Aurelio says that she is more than she appears, but he says that she's also exactly as she appears.
It's true.
No time to respond to that as Michael appears, stuns everyone in the room, and frees Stamets from his bonds.
Real quick.
That's something. Oh, go ahead.
So, a little bit before this, Michael drops out of a air duct, whatever, no shoes, run around barefoot. Anyone else get John McClane vibes off of this in Die Hard? She's crawling around in these Jeffries tubes like he was in those air ducts, setting these traps, picking off terrorists. I was getting a lot of Die Hard out of this. There were just some things that seemed like it was familiar to that. And once I saw her drop down barefoot, it was immediate. Like, okay, this couldn't be more of an homage to Die Hard.
Yeah, right there with you, for sure. I mean, there's a bunch of action movies where that happens, right? Doesn't that happen in The Fifth Element too? Like when he's dropping out from the ceiling at some point, he's also barefoot, which is great.
I don't recall that.
Anyways,
The only thing that could have made this more Die Hard is if the regulator that got ejected had a big sign on it that said, "Now I have a machine gun." Ho ho ho. Floating around in space with two of Michael's boots.
She's still holding those boots when she was in space too.
So what I wanted to say was this is another good scene where it shows us that, okay, so Syra has done good. She has helped people when she didn't need to, when she didn't see a benefit to helping young Aurelio, right? Like she's done good things. Just like Hitler made the trains run on time and Mussolini managed to make the roads work in the right direction, right? Like brutal, awful people sometimes do a good thing. Doesn't mean that they're not just as brutal as you expect them to be and that they should be in prison, which is the point that Stamets was making right there. She may be more than I think she is, but she's also exactly what I think she is. She is a brutal dictator. She is a genocidal maniac at points.
Right. And yeah, we've got one of our chat guests, Fifth Element. She dives up into the air ducts. So that was Lilu doing all the air duct stuff.
Has anybody ever memorized Lilu's entire name?
Heck no.
It's a long one.
It is really long.
And that was pointed out by, am I pronouncing this right? Aziadina? Okay, folks, do me a favor. Have names that I can pronounce, or at least something.
No.
Yeah, come on. I'm tripping all over this
Work out your
stuff.
tongue, man. Play like the tongue twisters of their names. Work out your tongue.
I do kind of like that concept. That's actually really cool. But I also there's a lot of names that I don't know how to pronounce because those names are not common in my circles, and I need to understand that.
Right.
Hard to know. So let's see.
I got you all off track, sorry.
Cool stuff is good. Michael stuns everybody. In the mess hall, Book and Rin are waiting for the regulators to get through the doors. They come through and a firefight ensues, and the regulators call for backup. Back in engineering, Paul is beelining it for the spore drive, setting things up for a jump. He is dedicated, determined, and unstoppable, practically. He is bent on getting Hugh. In one of the most passionate pleas ever made in Star Trek, Paul is heartbroken to hear that Adira is in the nebula too, and he desperately proclaims that his whole life is in that nebula, and he tries to get into that spore cube. And the only thing that stops him is a neck pinch delivered by Burnham, which is totally okay with me. She was raised on Vulcan. She probably knows how to do that. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah, Data learned how to do it at one point, so it works for me.
Yeah.
Tell me again,
Picard
real
even
quick.
did it in Die Hard on the Enterprise.
Yep, Picard did it.
Really good homage to that.
Tell me again, real quick, why there was no time to, well, maybe not just spore jump away, but why was it so important to get Stamets off the ship?
Because if they were able to figure out how the spore drive ran, they could, basically leave with the spore drive and make the Emerald Train the dominant force in the galaxy. Okay. Which might be what the secret was. Osira's there to steal the spore drive, and her diplomatic plea is an overture to Aurelio figuring things out.
Yeah, it may have just been to buy time for Aurelio, and maybe he had enough time. We don't really know yet how far he got in his research. They talked about growing a new tardigrade, right? So who knows? He might have gotten enough data.
He might have. Back in the ready room, Osira asks Vance who Eli is modeled off of. And I saw a theory here saying that Eli is actually the Federation president, which I thought was interesting.
Oh,
But
wow.
I don't know if that's going to come to fruition. But Vance says his appearance is computer generated in what appears to be a very offhand remark. He then goes and says that the armistice Osira proposes is impressive and features a number of concessions that he's surprised about, concessions the Emerald Chain is willing to make for this union. He asks her a linchpin question. Who is going to be the official representative for the Emerald Chain? Osira concedes it can't be her with her reputation. And she says maybe a scientist, one of great renown. And we think she's probably hinting at Aurelio. Vance says they'll just be a proxy for her. She says no, but Eli's like, buzz, buzz, that's a lie. Vance reiterates, whoever the representative...
let me answer it again. It bugged. Let me answer it again, right? Like...
Yeah, come on.
Vance ignores it and says, straight up, whoever the representative is, they have to operate completely independently from anything Osira has ever done. And namely, that person has to hold her accountable for her crimes that are well documented. They get into an argument about the past and the future and how, the past can be made right if Osira faces justice. Osira reminds him that everyone had to make hard choices after the burn.
Why would he push for that? What really? So you're looking at, you really want to have peace, right? You know that the Emerald Chain is more formidable than what's left of the Federation. So she comes in with this proposal. Things kind of look good. Vance sounds like he's going with it. Why then would you say, okay, this all looks good, but you have to go on trial for your crimes? Can they not just let that go and try to forge forward? Was it really important for him to make that call, to say that needed to happen?
So one, that assumes that she's honest, right? That she's legit, that this is a real armistice, right?
Right.
No reason to assume that at all. Nothing that she's done ever historically seems to support that that's a real honest bargain, right? And Vance probably knows that. Two, I'd argue that if the Federation agreed to do this sort of thing, it would be like Werner von Braun kind of stuff from the United States, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nazi scientist that employed Jews in his slave labor camps and then killed many of them, or had many of them killed, right? Going and working for your space program. It's morally reprehensible shit. It's not good, right? Trials need to happen. You need to have a Nuremberg, right? It's an abrogation of your moral leadership, of your ethics. So it doesn't fit with him as a person. And then it also doesn't fit as a Federation, right? Like they've proposed the removal of slavery. Doesn't mean it's gonna happen. If you sign your armistice now before that slavery ends and you become a trading partner with a slave state, I don't think that's a good look either, right? So I don't think that was ever gonna work out that way.
It's a huge quandary. Starfleet has had Osira as the poster child for the big bad of the Emerald Chain for a while, but at the same time, Osira is also, to a lot of people in the Emerald Chain, a sign of hope. And these words like hope are getting thrown around in this episode. And what's the title of the next episode? That Hope Is You, Part 2. And so they
changed the name at the last minute again.
Right.
Yeah, are they going to change the title?
It's supposed to be called Outside,
yeah.
but now it's called The Hope Is You, Part 2.
How many episodes have they name changed right before? Like 3?
At least 3.
I think 3 or 4, yeah.
The first episode, this episode, and the next episode are the 3 that I can recall at the top of my head. So there's room for one more.
Okay.
So Vance says that the burn left a legacy of fear and isolation, and it's something that he asks people to die for to undo. But the talks break down anyway, and Osira beams back to Discovery. On the bridge, Osira is pissed that Zara lost the hostages and the key to making the spore drive work. She tells him to seal and check all airlocks, and if things aren't good, she's going to shove him out one herself.
Do you see this coming?
Aurelio-
Oh, sorry.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, did you see this coming from Jutao? Stamets is the fob that runs the car. You're right. He's like, Stamets is the key fob for Discovery.
Yeah, they also can't escape, right? Like, remember, with Stamets off the ship, they can't spore jump away. They
Right.
also can't get their way out of the shield bubble, right? The shield is impenetrable both directions, it seems. So like, she's stuck. She's stuck in this shield, so she is quite fucked.
Sure. I think we just blew up Dag's mind.
Nah, Jutao is amazing. Wow. Stamets is a car fob. I'm just going to 3D print a Stamets doll and put my fob in it, and that's going to be my fob from now on. I'm just going to have a little placeholder in my cup holder in my car, and little Stamets will live there, and I will drive around with a little Paul Stamets. I'll even put a little voice box in there so he can criticize my driving while I'm doing it.
So what you're saying is you're finally getting a 3D printer then?
No, I'm going to commission some work. However, Osira goes to Aurelio and is like, it's time for you to leave because stuff's going to get dirty. He says this doesn't need to be the way it is, and she says sometimes it has to be done to move forward. He says he'll stay. Osira draws on Rin. Dun, dun, dun. Tears in chat. She tells Rin to fix her sensors. He says no. She says this isn't the time to have a backbone. He says that he has found strength, loyalty, and love on Discovery, and all she has is fear. Right before she pulls the trigger, Book offers up the Dilithium planet with safe travel in and out on the condition that she let Rin and the crew go. Osira does that villain thing where she thinks about it for a heartbeat and then disintegrates Rin anyway. We told you about spoiler alerts. If you miss Rin, go find Noah AK on Twitter and tell him how much you love him, and maybe we can Wei-Yun him and bring him back as a clone with full antenna.
That was just... I can't believe she did that. Like, I was surprised, and especially in front of the guy in the floating wheelchair, because he kind of looked up to her, and that just confirmed what Stamets was talking about, and now he's seen it firsthand.
Yep. That kind of informed something that happened towards the end of this episode, but yeah. So we flash over to an airlock. Stamets is stuck in some, like I said earlier, Galaxy Quest goo. If you haven't seen Galaxy Quest, go see it. You'll understand what I'm talking about after that. But
It counts as a Star Trek movie.
yeah, it's the unofficial best Star Trek movie. And Stamets is still just screaming at her, we have to get Adira and Culber out of that nebula. And right as she's about to push the button, he goes to bargaining again. We have time to talk about this. We have time to talk about this.
Right.
And she pushes the button. He gets ejected out of the ship, and he's got a homing device on him, so the station automatically tractors him in. Why it needs to tractor him, I don't know. If he's got a homing beacon on him and that's the design, just beam him to the
Transporter
station.
jamming. There's transporter jamming in this whole area, probably.
Yeah,
Exactly
that
what
would
I
make
said before.
sense.
If you have a hostage situation, you would want to... except if there's transporter jamming, how did Osira beam back to Discovery?
She probably didn't. She might have taken a shuttlecraft.
No, she beamed back because she beams onto the bridge.
Yes.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, she flashes right to the bridge from walking away from Vance. And you can hear the transporter flicker when she walks away from Vance, too.
Diplomatic privilege. They let her go, then they turned it off for a second and turned it back on.
Diplomatic immunity.
No, but so what I
Has
thought was
just
really
been
neat was,
revoked.
remember, they had actually shut down all the airlocks, so they were all sealed. So the only way that Burnham could chuck him out the window was to blow up her phaser or her little emerald
Maybe.
chain hand device.
Yeah. Well, we'll figure out more about that.
Okay.
We cut over to Tilly. The Tilly and the crew are at a weapons locker, and they arm up as many phasers as they can. It was really cool to see Rice and Tilly double wielding.
Yes.
Great. We haven't seen epic
Dual
double
pistol.
wielding since 7 of 9 in that episode of Star Trek Picard. Like a
Oo
year
did it
ago.
too. Don't forget Oo.
Jeez, not just a spider crawling on my ankle.
Jeez,
That's what I
Owo
flip
kicks
out.
the crap of that regulator this episode, and I am just all
Yes.
about her. Like, don't mess with her.
She's a fighter.
Don't. I love it. They hear something approach. There's a bunch of clinking happening down the hall, and they all turn their weapons towards it. I thought at the time that it was Aurelio, like switching sides,
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's even better. It's Dot 23 triplets. One of them sort of projects that movie that was playing earlier to indicate to the audience, for whatever reason, that, hey, I'm that guy, even though Tilly and crew have no context for whatever this movie is.
It was one that they were shown in the shuttle bay the other day.
Was it?
Well, it was, right.
Oh, just one random day they were just watching that movie. Okay.
Yep.
It was that big thing that like Saru did for the crew, for morale and all that. Yeah.
In any case, they show up and Tilly deduces that they're the sphere data. They acknowledge that. And one thing that I thought was really cool was that they have Starfleet division colors around their eyes. One's red, one's blue, one's gold. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I missed that.
And they agree with Tilly. And as the music rises to its crescendo, it's time to take back the ship in a world where Discovery is...
Now...
Hey,
did you
real
see
quick,
that they did the little Vulcan salute and that we got Zora's voice there too at the end?
When you only have
cool.
3 fingers, the Ninja Turtles were doing Vulcan salutes in every episode.
Good call. I always do. I love them. You know that there's a crossover comic with them in Star Trek, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And there was a really awesome movie that just came out that was Ninja Turtles and Batman. So I was all
That was
about
good.
That movie. It was a great movie.
That was good. So, hey, real quick, I have put up the Beyond Trek hotline, 513-279-2344, if you'd like to call and chat with us about this episode or Discovery Season 3 up to this point. Love to have
So
a
what do you
chit-chat
guys
with
think
you.
overall about the episode? Like,
Yeah. I thought this episode was pretty... It was just urgency all the way around. The last 3 episodes, I really feel, have been solidly good storytelling, despite a lot of our previous frustrations with certain bits. But, you know, the Mirror Universe 2-parter was a lot of fun. And the last 3 episodes, I really like it when they do these sort of urgent trilogy things. It makes me want to rewatch season 2 because I think I was like tuned out for half that season. But it really was a lot of fun.
It was. I like the... So far this season, there were more episodic episodes. Seemed like some more standalones, but with the serialized undertones. So it was kind of a mix of serialization of DS9 with the episodic content of Voyager, and I thought that was a good balance. I was good with that. But now these last few episodes, I like that they're taking more time and that there's kind of a trilogy, as it were, to end the season. Just to spend more time with these plot lines, kind of like season 7 of DS9. I mean, just about the whole last, what was it, 7, 8 episodes? The last 7 or 8 or so was just a continuous.
Oh, yeah. The DS9 finale was
Finale
a nice,
arc.
8-episode arc. I think it starts with Tacking Into the Wind. It's such a good arc.
Yes.
What are some
big arc.
unanswered questions from this episode? Like, how did the Sphere Data decide right now was the right time to be the time to take back the ship and not the time when the ship was actually taken over?
Yeah,
hey,
what the
Dad,
hell was
here's
it
an
waiting
unanswered
for?
Question for you.
What?
What the fuck are Saru and crew up to? We didn't see them once the whole episode. No
Well, it's
Saru,
'cause-
Okay,
no
that's actually a
Adira.
really good question. Audience,
513.
yay or nay in chat, or call us at 513-279-2344. Let us know if you think, and we're going to predict here, will anybody from Discovery who's currently in the ship with Su'Kal, you think any of them aren't going to come back? The fate of Saru, Culber, and Adira lie in the balance. Even Gray.
Well, okay, so here's my thought on that. I don't see it being Saru because he's the captain and the lead character. I don't see it being Culber because he's already been dead before. And
You can only die once in Star Trek.
yeah,
Now
yes.
Spock died twice. Picard
Once.
died like 8 times.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying.
Who
And
has the most deaths in Star Trek?
I really don't think that they could do Adira because then wouldn't that take us into the slippery slope of the bury your gaze.
The trope.
Yeah.
Oof.
The trope, yeah. So I think that they're all three going to make it, and it's because of just the very reason I just gave is you don't really have any good cannon fodder there.
I'm with Michaela Langston in the chat. If it's going to be anyone, it'll be Saru, I think, because this might be the way that they open up to giving Michael Burnham captaincy with Tilly being her XO or something ridiculous like that, because it's
I
the
read something
Michael Burnham
about
show.
that. Michael making a hard choice here to eject Stamets and sacrifice Saru, Adira, and Culber.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I would hate it if Saru died. Just pointing out,
Yes.
he is my favorite character in the show.
I hope they all make it. Really,
I do too.
because we can't
But
lose.
it would make
Saru
sense, Doug Jones reporting to the last few weeks of makeup, not having to do anything, and then he just walks away with a paycheck. I'm done. I died. I'm good.
Sorry, you
except
heard
for
the
the
squeaky
fact-
chair again, Nacho.
Except, unless this is a lie, but Doug Jones confirmed on Twitter 2 months ago that he was deep in production on season 4. So,
Right? Yeah, they're
unless he comes back as a Trill host flashback, I'm pretty sure that Saru will be back with us in season 4.
they're gonna make it. They're gonna make it. So come on, you guys, get some liquid courage. 513-279-2344. Even if you just want to say Dag's beard is very handsome, or wait a minute, we all have like a facial hair thing going on, don't we? I just now noticed that.
This
We're
happens a
all
lot.
our mirror universe selves, especially with our Silver Fox daddy, Vance. Oh. Thumbs up in chat if you think Admiral Vance is just the most gorgeous person to come across the 32nd century in a long time.
So last week I had Osira's amazing face. This week I have like disappointed dad Vance face, and it's just so good. He's like, really? This is the line you're going with? It's so good.
So while we're waiting for people to call, I have a guest standing in line here, a special celebrity guest. And he says that he's responsible for the burn. It's not Sukal at all. It is my special celebrity guest. Everybody give it up for Badgie. Say hi to Badgie.
Yay, Badgie!
Thumbs up for Badgie.
That's so cool.
Oh,
Well, hold on. Let me take the phone number off the screen so we can get a real good clear shot. There we go. Okay. Now, did you make that?
I did.
Wow.
I had this in planning since Badgie premiered on Lower Decks in August.
Uh-huh.
And so I went to local craft store and I bought all the pieces and matched most of the floss with the colors of the stuff and cut everything out. I made all the templates for the pattern myself. And just for the low cost of $39,995.99, you can have your own Badgie sent right to your local beer joint.
And Renzo, didn't you say that you can't even sew a button onto a shirt?
Yeah,
He
no,
says
I was just
shoes.
telling Dag earlier. Like, I'm amazed by his crafts ability. Like, I have trouble with buttons on pants. I end up bleeding from my fingertips because I'm just so bad at it.
Well,
If
look
you
at
think
the
you're
size of
amazed.
these meat hooks. I mean, can you see me trying to sew anything with these Chewbacca hands?
When you hold them close to the screen like that, they look huge.
Well, okay. So now back here for reference or whatever. It's yeah, you're right. I was like, aren't these hands big? Look, they're right in the screen.
No. War Dog Heim calls me out as just a simple tailor, but no, the simple tailor is over here playing Latro. My beautiful partner Cal.
Plain, simple Dag.
Yeah, Cal can hammer out all kinds of amazing things. If
Oh,
you want
God,
to see
yes.
something cool that Cal has made for me, hit me up at Trek Nexus on Twitter. My first pinned tweet is diplomatic robes that Cal made for me on a whim. Said that he could make better robes than anything I could find online. I told him to prove it, so we walked down and grabbed all of the cloth needed for this thing, and these robes are amazing.
They're
the
very
best,
nice.
The best, like, somebody commented and was like, it's like a Klingon became Pope and then Emperor of the Galaxy. It's
Now that was on a whim. that was just like woke up one day and, hey, I'm going to make a robe.
Well, I was like searching around for diplomatic robes because I was going to RP a Star Trek diplomat. And I found a thing that I liked, and Cal just looked at me and gave me the disappointed Vance face. And
That's going to be a meme. Disappointed Vance face.
and I basically said, all right, prove it. So yeah, we went to the store and bought all the fabric, and Michaela knows Cal. As well.
Oh,
So
cool. Okay.
Shout out to Michaela. Michaela's a Starfleeter, by the way. If you don't know who the Starfleeters are, yeah.
The Starfleeters are really cool. Well, tell us a little bit about the Starfleeters while we're still trying to.
Oh, well, okay.
Uh-oh, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Hold on a second.
It's happening.
Call from
Martin.
to accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Okay, so
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
hold on. There we go. Okay, number 1. You've called the Beyond Trek hotline. Who's this?
My name is Martin McQueen.
Martin, how you doing tonight?
What's up, Martin?
Hey,
Doing
Mark.
pretty good.
Good. You have a Happy New Year?
Yes, I did. Did you have one?
Yeah. You know, it was. I think that 2020 was so stressful and exhausting that it just seemed like nobody really. It's just survive. Let's just survive. You know what I mean?
See, you say
Yes, sir.
survive, but I spent the whole night killing people playing Among Us. So
That's a fun way to end the year.
It is. So Martin, what did you think of this most recent episode of Discovery, or just the season up to this point?
I think this is the best, one of the best Star Trek seasons of all time.
Really, of all the various series?
Yes, I think this season is very good.
Okay. So what makes you say that?
Just the storylines.
Okay.
Keeps you interested in watching every week.
It
And
is.
I think that the show, this is definitely Discovery's best season.
Yeah, I think it was. Yes, because season 1 was just a hot mess, and season 2 really tried to clean up season 1, and season 3. And tell me what you think of this, Martin. It seems like season 3 is the start of Star Trek Discovery, and season 1 and 2 was just kind of like a pre-show sort of thing. Yeah. So, well, I'm glad you like this season. Anything else you want to say
Any
or shout
questions
out
for
for our
us or
viewers? Any
comments
questions
for the rest of us?
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think the franchise is going in the right direction?
Yes, but here's the thing that worries me. And Dag, why don't you go first?
I was just going to say, as somebody who has been waiting for post-Nemesis continuity since Nemesis came out, I'm so happy that Discovery has traveled to the 32nd century. I want to see the future. It's not the future that I thought would happen 900 years later, but it is a future that realistically could happen 900 years in the future. So I'm all for what's going on right now, and I can't wait to see what season 4 has in store.
As far as the franchise is concerned, I'm totally into it. I like the idea of giving me many different flavors of Trek. Give me my spy show. Give me my brave, strange new worlds, Star Trek, typical episodic show. Give me my Michael Burnham show. Give me my Lower Decks and Prodigy animated shows. Like, give me more, right? If I don't like something, I just won't watch that one. To be honest, I'll watch them all anyways, but give me the many choices, and I think that that'll satisfy more people that way. So I think it's a good choice for the franchise as a whole. Even if there are some things we don't like or have issues with, just more options, I think, will satisfy more people.
Yep, it will. Well, Martin, thank you so much for calling in. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a great year this year and keep watching Star Trek. It is an awesome show, so thank you. We appreciate it.
Live long.
I love your show. Continue to do a good job.
We will. We'll thank you so
Thanks,
much. So now, right when, as luck would have it, the moment that he called, we had another caller call in. So if you were the person that got sent to voicemail, we're open up now. So I don't want to give out your number to everyone, but yeah, go ahead and try calling back, because now the Beyond Trek hotline is open again. But I don't have like someone to answer the phone for me. you know, that you like put callers on hold or whatever. So I'm just glad that this thing.
We're a low budget operation here. We don't
We
have
are
staff.
low budget. We do. We need staff. Well, hold on. There's a 3-second voicemail here from that number. Let's see what it is, if anything.
Now press
I wonder
2.
if that's.
Oh no,
person-
it was just the automated thing for the.
I was hoping
Google
it was
Voice.
the person in chat who like wanted to ask you out on a virtual date.
Oh.
That would have been sweet. It would have been adorable. A match made on Beyond Trek.
You know what? Let's do this. Hold on. Why don't we just call the number? Let's call the person that called us. So
And while you're doing that,
yeah.
Renzo, what do you think the next episode's really going to happen?
So I didn't watch the preview this time.
Yeah, so
Because
you have
so
undiluted
Yeah, I don't watch the
know.
previews either.
speculation.
I'm thinking that there's going to be a great bit of the .23s being utilized by Tilly and crew trying to retake command and control over the ship, whereas Michael is going to find herself probably captured by Osira, and we'll get some like tense tete-a-tete between the two of them. I think that'll be pretty good. Maybe it'll even go down to another fist fight between them, or what, another fist fight just generally not. It'll be the first between them, but it'll be cool. And we'll see Vance trying to fend off not just the Viridian, but maybe other ships from the chain as well that kind of show up. And at that point, besiege Starbase at the end of its ropes, at the last bits of
Oh,
shields.
here we go.
All can show up.
Call from.
Our caller from earlier.
Just
To accept, press 1.
Here we
to
go.
send a voice.
Hello, you've called the Beyond Trek hotline. Who's this?
hey, how you doing? This is Justin.
Hey,
I go by
Justin.
Justin is R.
Thanks for calling in. Sorry we didn't get you before, but as luck would have it, we had 2 folks call in right at the same time, which is pretty much figures. So, how's your New Year's?
I'm doing fantastic. No problems. Happy New Year.
Yeah, yeah.
New Year.
Thank you.
Happy New Year. So, tell us what you thought about this episode of Discovery or the season up to this point.
This episode was top notch. I love the pace, character development. It definitely added to the season so far. I really think season 3 has opened up literally our entire universe of Star Trek for us to explore. Not only in the future, but in the past as well. It's given us plenty of negatives that kind of dip back into the timeline, like you said, connect new dots from Nemesis that we just haven't gotten in years.
So,
These are attempts.
I'm sorry. So, do you think that they made the right call by putting Star Trek out so far into the future that they weren't going, so that they wouldn't be hindered by any other long-established canon?
They're making it the right call with
Yeah.
story development and awesome art right now. They could have did it 90 years, but they chose 900, and I think it just gives us more to play with as fans, as writers, and they gave them a writing edge to play with, so they don't have to keep answering so many questions that we are going to keep coming up with, and I think that just helps them out a lot.
The thing that I was kind of worried about in this season was that it was going to be just a whole season of Deus Ex Machina, because it's so far in the future, they have the technology, you can do anything. There'd be no, what's the word I'm looking for? Confrontations or problems or issues or whatever. So I'm glad that they didn't take this technology and basically have a fix-all for everything. So Justin, you have any general questions for us?
Yeah. How do you feel they're going to end this season and open the 4th season?
Oh, very good
As
question.
random a question it is.
Dag, Renzo, what do you guys think about that?
I think, and again, I'm kind of like leached into some stuff that's happening behind the scenes on season 4. So, I think this is going to be, I think we're going to get our people out by the skin of their teeth, quite literally, since they are, getting that radiation sickness, poisoning damage. But as far as this union, I really, really want to hope that despite all the weirdness that's happening around Osira and these regulators, that her plea is genuine, and we do get to cap off the season with maybe a again, I'm gonna say it again, a genuine but maybe tenuous formation of a new federation with the Orions and the Andorians, and hopefully these Vulcans show up, and we can get that back on the rails and see where we go in season 4.
As usual, I fear that Dag has some kind of like neural link to my brain because I want the exact same thing. That's exactly what I was hoping for. I'm hoping that like Osira will die at the end of this episode, and we'll end up with some sort of like Aurelio takes the reins on the chain. He was her like right hand man, and so he's got like authority, a moral authority to lead after her.
That's a very bold prediction, Cotton.
He sees this peace offer that she had used as like a bait and switch, but he sees it literally, and he sees it for real, and he actually goes forward with it. And the Vulcans, now seeing that they are not the cause of the burn, with the information that they learned from the Veruban Nebula and such, and it starts to rebuild the Federation. You get a new Federation being built with the humans. Maybe they can get Earth to join again. And, they start building the Federation again. That's what I want the 4th season to be. I want it to be like what we would have expected from like a 5th or 6th season of Enterprise, building the Federation. Here we're rebuilding it rather than building it the first time.
I like it. Well, Justin, thank you so much for calling. We really appreciate it. Glad you're listening to the podcast. Hope you enjoy it and continue to listen to our podcast. We've got plenty on YouTube. Those are the videos. And if you are just a listener, listener only for audio podcasts, we are on every podcast platform, all of them.
Wonderful.
Spotify, Google Music, Apple Music, Podbean, just all of them. So anyone you use, just search Beyond Trek Podcast, and you do have to do all 3 words. Otherwise, you'll come up with who knows what. So, yeah, Beyond Trek Podcast. So hopefully you keep listening.
Woo! Absolutely, man. New fan. This was really great. Shout out to Virtual Trek Con and Sci-Fi Sisters and Seventh Rule, and we just love Star Trek. Thank you for the opportunity. This is really cool, man.
Thanks, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Justin.
Happy 2021. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, that's right. Happy New Year. Thanks, Justin.
Check it out.
You know what? That's a very good point. Is one of the co-hosts for the Seventh Rule podcast, Ryan T. Husk, he really set this whole thing up. I'm sure he had other help, but to put together virtual Star Trek cons like this is a very big task, and we thank him for having us as part of this. We had one of our episode reviews shown at Virtual Trek Con 2. So when we got word about the 12 days of content, just reached out and said, hey, we can help you fill some content. We could do a couple YouTube live streams. We had a video that we'd already
Loudly
recorded with
ramble for a couple hours.
John Billingsley. Yeah. For any of you that didn't know about it, we had one of our podcast episodes was a talk with John Billingsley and his Hollywood Food Coalition charity. So look for that on our YouTube or any of our audio podcasts. I'm sorry, Renzo, what were you saying just a moment ago?
Oh, I was just saying, if you want to hear us ramble for a few hours, we are here and ready to help.
We are good at rambling, and sometimes we've got to get put back onto the tracks.
I want to give a shout out to the chat pack. You guys know who you are. I love you. I haven't been as active on there as I want to be because New Year shenanigans, but I love joining in all the premieres and all the lives. I love hanging out with you. I'm so glad that you're hanging out with us here today. And I think tomorrow is the 12th day of content. Somebody had to do that. Somebody had to do that. I'm sure War Dog Heim in there, who's my mental brother, is like, yep.
Hi, everybody.
And
Nacho wants to say hi.
Hi, Nacho.
Hey, Nacho.
Say hi. They're saying hi.
Hi.
So this is Nacho, my son, and he does some work with us on the podcast. We've had some episodes together with him, and got a little thing he does called Notes with Nacho, and where we just kind of sit and randomly talk about Star Trek. And as you can see, he definitely got my handsome good looks, so that was directly passed down. So, yeah. What do you think of this episode of Discovery? Let's get this off right here. Go
Are we talking about the last one?
Oh, Jesus. Hold on, I'm dropping all the technology. Yep, most recent episode. Tell us what you thought.
So Jay caused
Honestly,
the burn.
there were a bunch of other stuff that reminded me of this. I don't know what it was, but definitely. Probably the only closest thing I have is to this Flash
Lean
show.
down a little bit.
Huh? Okay.
Lean down, I want to see you. There you go.
But yeah, just this show, I don't know, reminds me a bunch because there's a bunch of shows and other movies that do this exact same thing. It didn't really feel new, honestly, but it was still good. Yeah.
It didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't feel new. Oh, my God. All right. Thanks,
You're
Nacho.
being judgmental.
I'm not judgmental.
We're judging an episode, may as well.
Okay.
I appreciate Nacho's feedback.
We appreciate your feedback, Nacho. Thanks.
Nacho, I love you. Play some Among Us with us.
Yeah. We should get him into Among Us. Yeah, that's good. Well, and then also you guys didn't see this, but I'll show you this. So my youngest daughter left me some like good luck things right here. She's left her little dolls on my podcast desk. So there's that. No, these are not mine. I did not buy these toys. So
No, sir.
just so you
I
know.
didn't see you playing with your dolls again. Good. What's the reference, Chat Pack? Come on.
Come on, Chat Pack. What is that from?
No, this has been a wonderful experience. The 12 days of
It has
content
been.
have been a lot of fun despite our technical hiccups with our lives, but we're going to get that experience down. We're going to do much cooler things in the future. Yeah, new books to read, new year to look forward to, hopefully more Trek to look forward to. We've got Discovery Season 4, Picard Season 2, Prodigy's coming out, maybe Lower Decks Season 2.
Section 31 show.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Section 31, the fate of Philippa Georgiou lies in the wake. I wonder,
Oh, yes.
I was thinking about this the other day. What if Kovich, and for everybody who's like, who's Kovich? It's David Lynch's character in Discovery, the horn-rimmed glasses man version 2 for Star Trek. What if Kovich is actually a hologram and he just did a test on Georgiou in that whole hologram sequence where she broke the other holograms? But he's been a hologram the whole time, and he's actually based on like a Section 31 leader
Okay.
very late 24th century. And if Georgiou happens to go back to the 24th century, she might be able to cross over with Picard.
Oh, okay. I like it.
And I kind of feel like I would like that because I don't need any more loose cliffhangers of a 23rd century Terran Empress running around strange new worlds with Pike.
Right.
just-
No,
think that
I don't think
that'd
they'll
be too
intersect. I don't think she'll intersect with the Strange New Worlds team.
That'd be good for me.
That would be
Yeah,
great.
I'm with you.
That'd be great. I wish so. So I think we're going to wrap this up soon, but for any of you that want to give us a quick call last minute, our Google Voice Beyond Trek hotline, 513-279-2344. And for those of you that were with us last week, you may already know this, but a little trivia for you. What is the importance or significance of 2344, the last four digits in our phone
I
number?
answered this one last time. I'm not going to do it this time.
Right. Yeah, 2344. See if our chat pack knows that one.
Interesting thing that was happening. Whenever your phone was ringing, my phone was ringing, and I thought that was
Was
really
it?
weird. Did you give Google my number?
No, I don't think I did. Maybe
Because like both times that the phone rang, my phone rang, and I was like,
yeah, I'm not sure, but I'll have to look into the settings there. I didn't even think that was possible. That it would go to two phones like that. So, yay. I tell you what, technology is great, isn't it? No.
Except
it's
when it
not.
betrays us when we try and start new episodes.
Oh my God. You know, I kid you not, it was one thing last week, which was stupid. And then this week it was another. And it's stuff you can't test for because it fucks you when you try to go live. And suddenly.
I'm just happy to be a part of it. It's been a wild ride. We've been doing BTP every week without fail for 22 weeks. Next week is the 23rd week of Trek. This all started way back on August 5th with the premiere of Lower Decks. Love Lower Decks.
Yep.
And we've been going strong every week. It's hard to keep up with the seventh rule, but we're trying.
Yep.
Michaela Langston says Chakotay entered the academy in 2344. Not wrong.
Okay, right. Not wrong.
Not wrong.
But not exactly what I was thinking. So
That's okay.
Just think about like yesterday, right? Like what would have happened on Enterprise like yesterday?
right. That's a good one.
What
That's
would
good.
have
Oh, there we
happened on
go.
the
We've got.
Enterprise yesterday. Right. Okay.
Is it Galinda?
Galinda is an Arendra 3. Called it.
Maybe my hint was too strong. Maybe it was too much.
Yeah. 2344 was the year that the Enterprise C was lost, defending a Klingon colony from attacking Romulans. And in a alternate reality, some kind of wormhole was formed from all the firefighting or some bullshit, and the Enterprise C went through it, and in that future created the Federation, been at war with the Klingons for 20 years, and they were really close to losing, so the Enterprise C had to get sent back to their deaths with Tasha Yar in tow. So, good job. You got it. All right, well, Dag,
No.
you want to tell folks where they can find us?
Hold on, I'm writing a wrong that should be right.
Oh, okay. Righting wrongs that should be right.
If you Google Beyond Trek Podcast or Beyond Trek Productions, you can find us pretty much anywhere. We are on Patreon. If you want to become a subscriber on Patreon, we would love to have your subscribing because it all goes to production costs. We do this for the love of it. We do both video and
Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on.
I guess we're not free yet.
Katie.
This is Idaho. Hello, this is the Beyond Trek hotline. Who's this?
Hi, my name's Katie.
Hi, Katie. Thanks for calling. We appreciate it.
Hi, Katie.
Hi,
do you-
Dag. I am a longtime fan of Dag.
This one looks like a setup. Dag, so you and
think it
Katie
might
know
be.
each other.
Actually, Katie is one of our coolest artists in Starfleeters. She came aboard the Starfleeter group as a Bolian, like full Bolian makeup. It blew my mind.
Oh, wow.
And she continues to innovate with some pretty awesome makeups for all of her Starfleeter characters and beyond.
Wow.
Welcome to the show, Katie. It's
Fun
great to
fact,
have you.
I'm actually calling you as a Bolian right now.
Oh no!
You're dressed
yes.
up. You're dressed up in your Bolian outfit.
I have blue face paint on my face right now.
Oh,
Nice.
wow, that is something. So you're in Starfleeters with
So I just
Dags.
can't touch my phone to my ear.
Oh, okay. So, what do you think of this episode of Discovery, or just of the season up to this point?
This season has really gotten a lot better than the last two. Especially the last two episodes really kind of blew my mind.
Yes,
Um,
heading in a good direction, right?
Yeah, this last one, I was glued to my screen the whole time, and the end, I squealed at the adorable robots.
Oh, yeah, they were pretty cool.
They've been in the intro sequence from the very beginning of the season, and I've been wondering, like, when are these things gonna show up? And now we get them front and center.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make another plushie of them so bad. I think they're super cool.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I totally forgot that they even mentioned them until they showed up again.
Well, I'm glad that they were there. So, what are your predictions for season 4?
Okay, so here's the thing that I worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Is that they've been trying to get rid of the sphere data forever. Well, the sphere data is finally out of the ship itself and in this unfortunately convenient to destroy body.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Dag, Renzo.
So-
I'm sorry, Giddy. Go ahead, keep on.
I was just going to say, my greatest fear is that they are going to pull a data with these adorable little sphere data bots and have them sacrifice themselves for the sake of the crew.
Oh, you know what?
I think they'd put off a short circuit, right? Where the head of the last one is being saved, right, or something along those lines. Like keep the last one alive, sort of thing. Like protect it while the others all get blown up or used as like disposable troops, cannon fodder.
Yeah, yeah.
They are so cute, though.
I do love them. They made them cute. Now we have to feel sad if they get blown up.
Yes, that would be sad.
Like if Discovery died, that's cool. It's not personified, but you know, these little cute things.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you if you had any questions for us or anything like that. And I mean, you know Dag already, so that puts us at a disadvantage. But is there anything that you want to ask us of the podcast, or any shout outs you want to give?
Well, you already shouted out the Starfleeters.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Katie, can I tweet your Boolean face for interested viewers who might want to see what that looks like?
Go for it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
All right.
I'm not currently watching the stream because I can't listen and watch at the same time.
Right.
I can't talk to you and watch it.
Well, thanks for calling in. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy the podcast and keep watching or listening to Beyond Trek Podcast. And hope you have a great rest of your 2021.
This was really interesting.
Yes, yes, it is. Oh, yeah.
Thanks for helping make it interesting.
It was an entertaining way to listen while I put on blue makeup.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you. We really appreciate it. All right. Have a good night.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah. Thanks, Katie, for doing that. Really appreciate that. That was really cool. All right. So, so we did our websites. Just want to thank real quick some of our special contributors.
I can do that.
Yeah, sure. All right. Go right ahead.
So in addition to the chat pack and everybody who's participated in our lives for the last 2 weeks and all of the fans and all of your amazing tweets, two particular people we want to give shout outs to: Stephanie Baker and Jim Cook. They are they subscribe to us on Patreon and Anchor. So yeah, they're awesome and have been fans of helping us with the show for well over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also hit us up on Twitter at Beyond Trek Pod, Facebook at Beyond Trek Podcast, and Beyond Trek Productions, and Instagram at Beyond Trek Podcast. And if you made it this far, we are so thankful to have you here one more time. We will see you next week for the thrilling conclusion of Discovery Season 3, Episode 13.
We are Beyond Trek Podcast. Lower your inhibitions and surrender your ears. We will add inspirational and hilarious Trek content to your day. Your attention will
Have a good
attempt
night.
to subscribe to us. Resistance